Welcome to We Digress with Joy and Jess. Join hosts and longtime friends Joy Simpson and Jess Perry as they tackle the stuff of life the only way they know how, with honesty, faith, and humor. This is We Digress with Joy and Jess. Hey everyone, welcome to We Digress with Joy and Jess. I am Jess.
And that would make me Joy.
Hey, we did it right for once. This
I wasn't
might
thinking
be
about it. Good
this
job.
might be the first time in all of our episodes, 4 seasons, that we did it correctly. And I just like to acknowledge right now that we did it. We did it good.
Milestone.
Good job, us.
We hit a milestone. I'm proud of it.
Episode 407, season 4. We finally did it.
We finally did it. What was that song? When I don't know if you ever watched Dora the Explorer. I'm sad that I ever did, but I used to hate that show when I was watching kids.
Backpack.
But she would say, "You did it, you did it." You know the "You did it" song. Yeah, that's how I felt in my heart just now.
Yay, us.
Yes.
It's very
I
exciting.
have a new student. She sounds like Minnie Mouse, and she always goes, "I did it." My mom thinks I'm lying. I said I'm going to record the kid one day because that's how she sounds. I can't do it right now because my voice is still a little from the infection, but it's very high-pitched. And I can't say her name, but it is very close to being named like Righteousness and Holy. Like it's in that neighborhood. Okay, just wanted to put that. But she sounds like Minnie Mouse, and every time she did something, even if she loses in a game we're playing, or she didn't do her ABCs right when practicing, but she goes, "I did it!" Like it's kind of creepy a little. Not
I was going to say, do you gravitate to her because she sounds like Minnie Mouse?
Not really. Yes and no.
Seeing as how you are literally wearing a Minnie Mouse shirt.
Dress. I'm wearing a whole Minnie Mouse dress. I know. So today I'm taking Sister Jen, to brunch for her birthday. She's off today. For the week of her birthday, she wasn't feeling the best.
Right.
And so we're going, and I was like, oh, what's something cute for brunch? But then I was like, who am I trying to like impress? I'm going to just put the Minnie Mouse dress on because it's comfortable and I like Minnie Mouse, and that's just how it is. Anyway.
Those are the two most important qualifications for a dress, I think.
Yeah.
Number 3 is, does it have pockets?
Get kind of caught up in like how you're going to, and it's not a confidence thing. It's just because I feel confident and cute and everything out. It's just the LA vibe. Like you don't feel like savory enough or like chic enough sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah. So.
Well, it's interesting because even out here, like, so we live in a super bougie neighborhood, and, it's like there's a club and a clubhouse, and that is not me. Like, that's not my vibe. But like, we've got like Buffy, like the Buffy neighborhood. Like, there's not literally a neighbor named Buffy.
An actual Buffy, that would make me excited and hilarious all at the same time.
Okay, but fun fact, when my parents had a house in Vegas, their neighbors were Jim and Buffy.
No way. That is like the perfect, like, not to be racist, like white couple in
absolutely
like a suburban neighborhood name.
They absolutely were
in my entire life.
Yep. Jim and Buffy.
Like perfect.
But yeah, that neighborhood is definitely far from fancy these days. It's a rough neighborhood now.
Vegas is far from fancy these days, I'm hearing.
Yeah, that part of Vegas like was really nice when we bought, but we bought 30 years ago now, and not so much.
Look at property that was purchased. If you don't like, even our house is, my grandparents bought this house in 1970 something. Like I'd say 76, because my mom graduated from Crenshaw High in 75, but they weren't living in this neighborhood yet. And we're not far from Crenshaw High, but she graduated in 75. So I think they moved here, honestly, like her senior year. So I'll say 75, 76 is when they bought the house. And so most of the houses in our neighborhood, the exterior is the same. People have done remodeling inside. We've done remodeling inside. We need to do more remodeling. But
It never
for the
ends.
majority, for the most part, most of the houses look like they did when I was a kid. But if you go to other neighborhoods like the Westchester neighborhood and like the Baldwin Hills neighborhood, the Ladera areas, a lot of those houses, you have some that are the same, but a lot of them are trying to keep up with the newer
Right.
look, you know. But also we have a lot of like nationalities moving back into the neighborhood that moved out because this area where we are was predominantly Asian in the 70s. It was not predominantly African American. It was predominantly Asian with some Caucasian, and my mom said like sprinkles of Black families. It was more of a middle class, wealthy-ish type neighborhood.
Right.
And then once, unfortunately, once some of the kids started getting bussed in from other areas, some of the owners was like, "We dipping," and so now what you learn is a lot of them didn't sell the homes, they rented them out. And so some of their kids and grandchildren are moving back into the area. And then there's a lot of high rises being built because of the new metro system.
Yeah.
I hate the train. I just want to say like Crenshaw looks weird now with the train, but we needed more public transportation, blah, blah, blah. But it's kind of inconvenient sometimes. But so now we have all these like high rises and they're trying to make everything look like downtown New York, like all over LA. Like that's kind of how like the feel. You know how
Yeah.
you have the stores and the restaurants
Yeah.
on the bottom, and then you have because even in Inglewood now, you know where the Forum is.
Yeah.
So, that whole area now
Yeah.
is insane. First of all, let me just say this. Tonight you have Sam Smith and Beyonce. One is at the Forum. The other one is at SoFi, which is a block over. Do you
Yeah.
know how crazy the traffic in Inglewood is about to be? And then by the end of 2024, 25, beginning of 25, the Clipper Stadium is
Yeah.
on the
Other side.
next major corner.
Yeah.
So the traffic and a lot of houses have been bought out by corps trying to make parking lots or new restaurants. So on the corner of Florence and La Brea now, there's a Target. We've never had a Target right there in Inglewood. There's a Target with a bunch of condos above it. And then they're
Yeah.
trying to get some spaces for um restaurants and boutiques and shops. My issue with that is, and it's not, I think it's great that they're beautifying the neighborhood and all of that. There's a CVS across the street and a bunch of restaurants and stores that have been there for years
Ever.
and years and years
Yeah.
and years, including my grandmother's eye doctor. The owner of the Clippers, who also I think is part owner of the SoFi Stadium, is trying to buy that out. And the problem with that, there's not a lot of people get their medication from that particular CVS. Like that CVS is the hub. It's 24 hours. You can get if you're released from the hospital from the ER at 12 o'clock at night, you can get your prescription
Right.
at 1 o'clock in the morning without waiting the next day. And so what they're trying to do, instead of beautifying that area, they're trying to tear it down and build a parking lot. And now you're taking out something the community needs. And that is where I have an issue. But
Yeah.
A lot of neighborhoods are changing. Things, some people call it gentrification, some people call it beautifying. It is what it is. There's a lot of new things happening in the LA Inglewood area. I'm just concerned about traffic, and I will be nowhere near the Forum or SoFi Stadium today. Beyonce and Sam Smith, oh my gosh.
Ooh. Yeah.
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 And Sam Smith did a concert last night. I took a different route home from work. I usually drive down Manchester and then I'll cut off in Florence and come back. Because sometimes it's just faster to go that way. But I went like all the way around La Tierra up down to Centinela to La Brea and back way. Because I was like, I refuse to be in the Sam Smith traffic.
Oh, yeah.
Refuse. And then football season's happening. It's coming up. You have like 3 games going on, so it's already bananas. People park, okay. The Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles is closer to the airport than it is to the SoFi. People park all the way down there to go to shows and concerts and things, and they walk. Do you know how long of a walk Manchester is? All the
Yeah.
way to
Yeesh.
flipping Forum and SoFi? That is insane to me.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
It's crazy. And I'm like, y'all just go, okay, little people that don't know where they are. Yeah.
That's really what it is. It's because you have to drive down to an area you're not familiar with, and you have to try, and parking $7,000. So,
Right.
yeah.
They're also, I think SoFi is also starting to do what Dodger Stadium does, because the last couple of Dodger games I went to, we parked at Union Station, and there's a shuttle that's free that takes you straight from Union Station to Dodger Stadium.
Yeah.
So there's a train on Hawthorne going towards Hawthorne, between Hawthorne and Inglewood, where La Brea turns into Hawthorne. And for if you're not from California, I'm sorry, all these streets probably make no sense.
This is like an episode of the SNL, The Californians. Well, why don't you just take the 405 down to La Tierra?
Yes, that's how it feels. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
And a lot of people, like when Taylor Swift was in town, a lot of people took that train, and there's a bus station right there, and they shuttle bus, and there was like lots of police. People were, when I flew back from Hawaii, people were at the airport flying in for Taylor Swift.
Oh, I believe it.
I'm like,
I believe it.
I've never wanted to see nobody that bad, like ever. Like, to fly, and not just flying like Vegas to LA. People were flying from like Ohio and Indiana and like New York. I'm like, what is wrong with y'all? But hey, man, do you?
Well, it's funny. We were
for Beyonce.
Well, that's true. We were trying to be in Vegas in October for that music festival, for the When We Were Young festival,
and that's different.
It's different. But the thing is, like, I don't know how people do it, because I looked at the airfare and I went, we can't afford this. This is bonkers.
No,
we got a good rate on the hotel.
I was telling Jess, I've been trying to get to so I planned on going Hawaii, and then in August coming to visit Jess. The flights are so insane, and Jessica was like, just wait.
Yeah, it's bonkers.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. So thankfully, and this is the craziest thing, like, I tried to sell our festival tickets on a Facebook buy sell trade group, because I didn't have to pay any, fees. It wasn't going to be a ton of money to just sell it through like Venmo or whatever, or PayPal or whatever it is. And I tried to sell it, and I listed it at my cost, like exactly what I paid for the tickets. I wasn't trying to scalp anybody. I just want my money back out of it, one of those things. And no one was biting. There were a lot of people who said they were interested, and then I listed the tickets and they didn't want them. So I was like, okay, fine. So then I listed it on StubHub, because I got to do what I can to get rid of these tickets. Right, and of course, with StubHub, there's all these extra fees that StubHub takes out of it, like all this stuff. And so I ended up listing it for like $200 more, because literally just to cover the StubHub fees. It might have been like $150 more or whatever.
Fees, that must be a lot then.
It was a ton.
I've never sold anything on StubHub, so I didn't know.
Yeah, I hadn't either, but like, it'll tell you, like, if you list it for this amount, this is how much money you get. So like, you just kind of do the thing, and it'll be like, okay, so if you list it for this, then you get what this was. And the way that they worked it out, like, it ended up being like, I think it was an extra $10 for my ticket. And I went, okay, well, that's worth the hour and change that I have spent trying to figure out how to make this work. So, but on the person who bought the tickets, and they sold within 3 hours of me listing them. But the person who bought that then was upcharged like $200, and I felt terrible about it. But it's like, I tried to sell them cheaper and I couldn't. It's so weird. So anyway, it's crazy. We're going up to Blue Ridge again instead. They did sell, so that's good. So we're going up to Blue Ridge again instead of going to Vegas. It was gorgeous, and it's the kind of trip we need.
Pictures, and you came back very relaxed and ready. You know what I'm saying? Like, you were. It's like going on a retreat.
It is. It's very quiet up there, and we have just been going nonstop for the past 4 months. Just busy stuff. It's a busy season, and it's going to continue to be busy through October.
Well,
and then Christmas.
I was going to say it's going to be busy through the end of the year.
Yeah.
Because not only do we have our conference in September, but because of our separate jobs, we, just as full time at the church. It's almost like we're full time with Divine Detour too, and all of our other stuff. So we have that plus Christmas season. I started like thinking in my brain how many plays I need to finish because everybody wants a different show. So I have to do something for church, my show for my kids at work, and they're trying to promote me to full-time theater teacher at the school. So it's got to be a show for them too. But that, that's kind of for LA Unified. Even though I'm already a teacher in the system, I have to get a vendor license because I would be consulting for the school because I work for the contract program.
Yeah.
So it's just a whole thing. So
Good times.
Is what I'm working on.
Yeah.
But yeah, busy through the end of the year. So
it's hard to find margin in it. If I didn't put hard boundaries on my time, and I don't know if you're the same way, but if I did not put hard boundaries on my time, I literally could work 100 hours a week without breaking a sweat. And I can't do that physically or spiritually or for the sake of my marriage or for my own physical health, And so it's like, I feel bad, but like I put a hard stop with a couple of exceptions at like 7 p.m. Like I do what I can, like unless there's something really, really pressing, because it's like, I can't keep doing this, essentially working, 2 full-time jobs plus a couple part-time gigs. And the one full-time job doesn't pay anything. So I have to like balance all of that out. So it's just a thing. And, it's
one of my students the other day was like, Miss Joy, how many jobs do you have? Because I guess they heard me say I have to go when I leave her. I need to go to my other job. And I'll say 2 of my full-time jobs don't pay anything.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Because technically I have like 3 full-time jobs, and then some are a couple part-time. And so they were like, well, Miss Joy, what do you do? It's one of my newer students. And so the kids were like, oh yeah, you're new. You don't know. Miss Joy does this, and this. She was like, dang, Miss Joy, like, do you sleep? I'm like, I work very hard to get rest. I really do.
Yeah.
But I would never tell you guys to work like I work.
Right. Well, and the hard part is like, it's so easy to get stressed out, and like finances and everything is so expensive anymore, and costs have gone up so much. And it's like, at some point, all these things that are things that we're passionate about, but that don't yet provide any financial resource.
Right.
You have to start having those conversations like, okay, I know it's a thing that we want to do, and I know we're building for the future, but can I sustain this right now? Like, what does that look like? And just all kinds of questions and things like that. And,
and
one of the guys
questions. And I think part of it is because we both encourage each other to continue, and we prioritize. I think, right now, I understand you have to prioritize what is making you finances right now, what is sustaining it. Because if I had it my way, we would be just doing what we wanted to do, but it's not there yet.
When we win the lottery,
it's not
it
there
happens.
Yet. And like, even me considering retiring at the end of the school year, I need to see some fruit, I think, before financially, not just, we see fruit in people who give us feedback, people who will be coming to the conference, all those things, that's fruit. I meant financial fruit.
Yeah. Like, we have to be wise stewards of the resources that we're given, and, and it's, but I was talking to one of the guys at church who's kind of in the same boat where it's like, because ministry doesn't pay particularly well. And one of our other staff members, and he was like, he's got some other staff or some other things that he does on the side. And some of it is like, you do what it takes to provide for your family kind of stuff. The other stuff is the things that he really enjoys. And he's at a point where he thinks he might be in the next month or so be able to like get away from the stuff that's just like, you do what you have to do to pay the bills, and be able to do some stuff that's more his wheelhouse and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And so he and I were talking about, social media and marketing and things like that. And, it's stressful. And I know that a lot of people have a lot of different ways to cope with stress and with finding, outlets and ways to cope and things like that. And there are like healthy ways to cope, and there are unhealthy ways to cope. And then there are questionable ways to cope. And And
Yeah.
one of those actually is the topic of what we're going to talk about today, which is CBD and Christians.
Yeah.
And all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah. And there's a lot of different perspectives on that.
Yeah.
And it's funny, before we actually get into the topic, Jessica posted a picture that on Facebook yesterday, actually, a creature of non-normal being in the house creatures, unless it was a pet, was found on her living room carpet.
Yeah.
Is that what that was?
Yeah.
Now, if we were, and I joked and said, if I were high, I would have been freaking out. So there was a dead, very dried frog on Jessica's carpet. Would you like to tell us your theory on how that happened?
So we are recording this on September 1st. We are just a few days removed from Hurricane Idalia that hit Florida and the kind of the Big Bend area of Florida and then made its way up through Georgia. And we were fortunate here, right where we are, you know, they had forecasted it was going to be a Cat 1 by the time it got to us. And we were slated to have kind of a direct hit right over Savannah. It ended up skirting a little bit north. And so we really got pretty much nothing right where we are. But there are still a lot of people, because it was very windy, there are still a lot of people who are without power kind of in Savannah and the outlying areas. So, because, you know, lots of big trees and things like that. But as a precaution, because, you know, you don't want projectiles outside flying through the air, we have these like topiary, fake topiaries, because I can't keep plants alive. We have these like really fake topiaries on our front porch that are in these like plastic urn type things. They're tall,
like planter things, right?
Yeah, they're like a planter, and it's like this plastic, and the plastic thing's probably like 4 feet tall, and then the topiary is like another 4 feet, but they sit in, so it's like 7 feet-ish, 6 feet-ish kind of height, all this kind of stuff. But they're very lightweight. And so at the slightest bit of wind, until I can get some rocks to put into them, these topiaries had to come inside. Well, I think what happened was that hiding inside one of these topiaries, or the urns rather, was this little frog. And he was probably, I don't know, 2 inches big, maybe about that. But I didn't know he was in there. And I made the joke to John, because we found frogs in these planters before. I had made the joke to John when I brought it in. I was like, watch there be a frog or something in here. Or what critters are we bringing in this house? But we didn't see any. We looked, didn't see any, and went about our way. And then yesterday, when I left the house, I saw something out of the corner of my eye. Now, we have a patterned rug in our living room. We have it has like a pattern on it. And I saw something that looked like fuzz on top of this rug and this pattern. But I was running late, and I thought, I'll check on it when I get home. It looks like fuzz. It wasn't moving. It was just a thing. So I leave. I go to work. I come get my hair done, do some stuff, come back and look down. And it's not fuzz. It is a straight up frog. And I was like, oh my gosh. And it's like,
I would have jumped out of my skin. Okay. Now, I love animals, but that would have freaked me out. I don't know how you were sustaining your calm, at all.
Well, he was dead, so like it was fine. Like I could tell he was crispy. So like the
he was definitely crispy. He had been dried out for a long time. He was like frog jerky.
Right, this is true. He was frog jerky. But like when we first moved here, because Savannah it's called the low country, right? So we're low to the ground. There's lots of inlets, lots of marshes. It rains all the time. We've got retention ponds everywhere, because that's how they manage all of the groundwater levels and stuff around here. And so we have a lot of frogs. We have a lot of water moccasins, cottonmouths. We have like very venomous snakes. We have nature. I think back to when when the Native Americans were living here and when the first British people came over. And I think about their experiences in the wilds of Georgia. And I think, how on earth did they manage to stay? Because I don't know how they did this. Anyway, they were made of sterner stuff than me, which I think no one is surprised to hear. But so we took care of it and all this kind of stuff. But we have a lot of frogs. When we first moved here, we were walking the dog, and I kid you not, it was dark. I couldn't really see. And I saw out of the corner of my eye on the concrete below what I thought was like a rock. And I thankfully was like, oh, it's a rock. I don't want to step on it. But as I put my foot down kind of near it, the rock moved and hopped. And I squealed so loudly that I'm pretty sure the entire apartment complex heard me. When we moved in here,
I think about moving closer to you so that we can work, then I hear things like this, and I'm like, I am really a LA girl. Like, that is not gonna work.
You know, though, like where we are here, like it's super developed. In our area, we're not in the country at all. And so, yeah, there are we get mosquitoes and bugs and stuff like that, and dragonflies, and, there are snakes, all kind of stuff. But by God's grace, thank the Lord, I have not had any snake issues here, even though our neighbor said they had seen one, which I'm thankful that I think their kids are a good deterrent because they go and play outside and they're very loud, and I don't think the snakes like it. And good job, kids.
Wow. Well, we had an interesting moment of digression going into this. I just thought it was really funny that happened, and we were going to talk about Christians and cannabis. And I'm not going to lie, I actually heard this.
Don't lick a frog.
On another Christian. What did you say?
I said, don't lick a frog. It's LSD. Different.
Yeah. If you start licking frogs, you might be doing more than. Yeah. Anyway, two reasons why I thought this was interesting. One, a few months back, I'll say earlier this year, ended last year, there was a pastor in Atlanta. Actually, I believe his church is in Atlanta. It's New Birth Fellowship. It used to be Pastor Eddie Long's church. He passed away. Now the pastor is Jamal Bryant, who came from an AME background originally. But this is not an AME church. That, and then another podcast I heard somewhat discussing it, but it was a very biased view about it. Now, I'll say this about the church situation, and this is where I didn't agree with this. He wants to open a dispensary through the church. He wants to, and I think in his mind and his good intentions, because he's also like a civil rights activist type guy, he, sorry, excuse me. I'm still dealing with the sinus infection from last week, guys, so my apologies. In a way, the way he was talking, it was almost like he was looking at it as like an outreach type thing, where he's like, I'd rather you come here than go to the streets to get it, kind of a thing. And to me, that was a little far. I was not a little far. That was far. I was just like,
yeah,
I understand the benefits of a lot of things. I will put this out there. Yes, I am a minister. I am pastor, and I use gummies and sometimes patches or oil because I have a chronic pain disease. And instead of me becoming hooked on opioids due to my pain, and because the pain is so wide ranged in my body, my doctor, my actual physician, thought it best to not continue to take Norco, not to continue to do so many other medicines that could also damage my body more. He, several years ago, suggested that we go the CBD route.
Right.
Because I did not know what I was doing in the beginning, I wasn't finding the benefits of it because I was not using proper strengths. I wasn't using proper anything. I stumbled upon a place near my job called MedMen, and they were reputable because what they do at MedMen, they train their staff to not just, now they do sell recreational stuff as well, but what they do is they train their staff to be knowledgeable enough about certain diseases, certain pains, because at the time I started, I was also dealing with my knee injury.
Right.
That I was also taking pain pills for, because again, widespread pain. So when I went in and I told them, I said, hey, this is what I'm dealing with. I have fibromyalgia, and I'm also dealing with the torn meniscus, and I am trying to find something that will help with the pain. Um, the first thing I got was a lotion. That didn't do a whole lot. Talked to someone else, and he was like, this is what I do. He happened to have a mom who had fibromyalgia, and he understood it a little bit more than the person I had spoken to previously. And he was one of the managers of the store. So ever since then, I have certain people in the store that I talk to. And there are some believers, I am quite sure. Like, it's not like I go around talking about, I take weed gummies. Like, I don't talk about it like that unless it's somebody like a friend. And I'm sharing it with you guys because I want us to have I want us to have a perspective on it that's not just based on what news and media tells us about cannabis and things like that. Now, I'm not smoking it. I'm not doing it recreationally. It's literally for pain. For most of you, we talked about the fibromyalgia episode in season 1. There are days I cannot get out of bed and I can't work. And those are the days I feel guilty because I can't work. I can't invest in ministry the way I would like to, or I do it in spite of pain and it causes more pain. A couple Sundays ago, I was literally like just holding on to walls walking through church because I was hurting so bad. It was the weekend of the storm, of the tropical storm.
Yeah.
And because it was also Adonis' 13th birthday, I could not go to celebrate him. I do everything for his brother. I go to everything for his sister. I can't not go. So I stuffed down the pain. I couldn't take, anything, because a lot of the stuff that I do take, it does relax you and you eventually get sleepy. And so I don't take it at certain times of the day. Or if I'm going to be moving, then again. But so there are days I can't get up. My pain is too bad. Or I go and I'm at work and I'm just working in pain and it cracks me up, and not to minimize anybody's pain. But my coworkers, they get a hangnail or they have a headache and they don't want to come into work. I have teachers who literally don't want to come to work with their children because they got a scratch. And there was a week I remember my boss going, do you guys realize how many things that Joy deals with every single day when she's here? Between chronic migraines, because I had 2 last week and one this week, between constant bronchitis type situations, sinus infections, and fibromyalgia. But I don't complain about it at work. I'll talk to Jess, I'll talk to my family, I'll talk to people who are close to me, and I'll get it out as I should. But I don't go around work like, I'm in pain, so you need to deal with it. Like, I don't do that. I just do what I have to do. So I have been using CBD for about, I'll say maybe 5 years now, 4 years now. And it has been beneficial to me. What I don't agree with is just doing it to be high, as recreation. But as Jessica mentioned earlier, and this is where I'll let you come in, people use different things as a coping mechanism, which is what we shared, about 20 minutes ago in the podcast. I'm sorry, we digressed a little bit. It is a coping mechanism for a lot of people. My thing is this: I don't judge anybody for anything. Because what you do, in my opinion, is there's a way, we talked about this last week, there's a way for Christians to judge. There's a fine line of judgment in how we handle things. We talked about this in the prayer episode. It's a fine line between how we judge other Christians about what they do. And to me, it's the same thing here. So just take it away.
So I agree with you totally on okay. Here's the thing about CBD and about weed and all that kind of stuff. There are different levels of the THC inside those things. The marijuana, the Mary Jane, the gateway drug, as Dare told us back in the day.
Yes, I had a t-shirt and everything.
Dare graduate, yeah. Thanks, Officer Conlon.
Thanks. Thanks, Nancy Reagan.
So here's the thing: marijuana has different levels of THC, and that's the not mood altering, but that's what gets you high.
High agent.
Yeah. And CBD typically doesn't have a ton of that. It might have some depending on the strain.
No, and what I've learned in my years of taking it, CBD has to have some level of THC in order for it to work for certain things. So if you're just doing CBD with no THC and you're trying to use it for pain, it's not going to help, because whatever, and they explain the chemical whatever to me, but whatever it is, they have to coexist. Now, like she said, there are different variants. There's different levels. And so like 1 to 3, 3 to 1. So it's like 3 milligrams more of CBD to THC. That one is enough to help with pain. It's not going to make you addicted to drugs.
Right. Well, and here's the thing. Like, okay, I look at marijuana now, especially now that it is legal in California and probably widely going to be legal in most, as California goes, so goes the rest of the nation, right? We still are not legal here, but we have medical marijuana here in Georgia. Okay. We don't have recreational. And so, but here's the thing. I look at it like I look at alcohol. And if we look in scripture, Paul tells Timothy, have a glass of wine for your stomach. Right. And before anybody's like, well, there wasn't as much alcohol. No. And
I hate that.
Right. It's like, if you couldn't get drunk off of wine in the Bible, why would there be the directive, don't get drunk? Right. If that wasn't a possibility based on it, it's like, no, wine was wine and it's wine.
Always been wine.
Yeah. And if you look at Roman history, they had vomitoriums for when you had overindulged in food and wine, and then you could go barf, and then you could come back and indulge some more.
Really? I don't think I've ever heard of that before.
Yeah. That's interesting. The Romans were a gas, let me tell you. Anyway, all that to say, so much of what we see in there, it's not, these are resources that the Lord has given us. I was talking, I'm what you might call semi-crunchy as a person, which is there are crunchy people who were like holistic everything and essential oil everything and all that kind of stuff. We have lots of things that God has given us that we can use to help support medicine, right? They should live hand in hand, right? We do some holistic things, naturopath. We try to support ourselves and support our bodies in a natural way. Right. Yeah. So that we are as healthy as we can be. And then if we need medicine, we do kind of a Western medicine thing. I have a husband who is here today because of Western medicine. So I'm not like anti-drugs or like pharmaceuticals, things like that. However, I do think we have doctors that are trained to just prescribe a pill and not actually take a look at the root cause of an issue. And so the first thing they're going to do is they're going to just write you a prescription for something. And I don't know that it's necessarily beneficial for people. And so I am in the middle crunchy, as in most things in my life.
The crunchy term, but I guess I'm semi-crunchy too.
Yeah. And so I was talking to a friend of mine and we were talking about essential oils, and it's like, yeah, I like essential oils. I use them. There are some things that are incredibly beneficial for body aches and pains, for nausea and like stomach issues that I have, for like sore necks, all that kind of stuff. Like there are plenty of those things that I use. And I think that there is a lot of benefit in CBD. Because again, it's an herb that the Lord has given us to be able to use. And like a lot of things in our world, we take a good thing that God gives us and we indulge too much. We take it to the next level. We realize, we can overindulge in this. It's like, I don't personally have a problem with Christians drinking alcohol. I have a problem with Christians who get drunk. Right. I have a problem with Christians. I have a problem with Christians who use alcohol as a crutch as a coping mechanism. And so I would have those same problems with people who were using CBD. I don't think that it's beneficial to get high. But if you need CBD because it's pain management, absolutely. Like a CBD is what allowed my friend to eat in the last days of her cancer. Like I'm not going
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah. Like
my dad could not. Yeah. Food was not attractive to my father. Right. My stepmom was stressing about him eating because our thing was you need strength so that we can go through this treatment that we never got to get for him. And so my stepbrother and I suggested getting something to put in
Yeah.
his food. And because there are teas,
Yeah.
and a lot of it, I know a lot of cancer patients that
Yeah.
this has helped. It has helped them eat. It has helped them with nausea,
Mm-hmm.
with their vomiting after chemo. It has helped, and a lot of their doctors are telling them, I think for a Western doctor, for my doctor to tell me,
Yeah.
I'd rather you not be addicted to opioids
Right.
because of your pain, and I'd rather you try something like this. And he has been gun ho. We talk about it in my appointments and
Yeah.
things like that. So, um, it has helped. It is very beneficial when I go and I talk to the people in the store, and some of the things that they're just knowledgeable, or even I hear them talking to another customer about their cancer or about their knee injury, about their shoulder pain. My mom, she was very skeptical at first because when she was in the 70s and in college,
Oh
my
yeah.
mother used to smoke weed, and that's not a secret. She will tell you on any given day. My mother was like, for real, like knew how to roll it, do all that stuff. Okay. So in her mind,
Right.
that's what it attributed to. She wasn't thinking of health benefits. So it wasn't until she went with me to MedMen once. And you see a variety of people on crutches, people in wheelchairs, regular
Right.
people, young people, getting all nationalities, everybody. And there's such a misconception that one nationality or ethnicity uses it more than the other. When I tell you, if you go to MedMen, you see old people. Cutest story I've ever seen in my life. Older white man walks into the store at the same time I do. He has a list written down of what his wife needed. She was struggling with um, some stomach issues, and she also has a chronic disease. It wasn't cancer. I can't remember what it was. And so he's like, hey, can you help me? Talks to a guy. And he's like, I've never been in here before, or I've come with my wife and she does all the talking, but she's not well enough to get out of the bed today.
Mm.
And I need to take some stuff home. Do you have these things in stock? And that kind of touched my heart because he genuinely wanted relief for his wife. Like,
Yeah.
she could not do anything. And he was, I'm telling you, like in his 70s, like late 70s, early 80s. Like, he was an older man. And you see all these different people. So once my mom heard the guy talking to me and he knew medical terms, he knew things like that, and she started to understand. And so now, because she has back pain and some things, she uses the oil that
Yeah.
has been helpful to her. Now, because of my chronic pain, there are certain things for acute pain. I don't have acute pain. I have chronic,
Right.
slap you in your face, knock you down pain. So
Yeah.
the oil that she uses, I can't use that
Mm-hmm.
strength because it's not gonna, it's like my body gonna go, huh, that was cute. That was really cute, but no.
Right.
So it's it's taboo though in the church, because then I'll hear people, like, including pastors I've looked up to, have a very negative spin on it, and talk
Mm-hmm.
and telling their congregations, you just want to be high. You just want, and that's not the case. And so my thing is, I had the opportunity to sit with sisters in ministry earlier this year. One of our board members is going through cancer right now.
Mm.
And she's doing treatments. And so her pastor is one of her, like, close friends, who's also the founder of our ministry. And she was like, Joy, can you tell me some of the benefits and the things that you've seen, you've heard? And she asked me one, she was like, if I want to go get some stuff for her, can you go with me one day just to, so to me as a pastor, to sit and talk and have this conversation with me, it meant a lot, because I've only heard pastors downcast.
Right.
I agree with Jessica. If you're just doing it just to be high or whatever, I know people that have to do it to literally focus. I don't know how wrong or not wrong that is. There's a sound guy that I know. He literally only can function, like, he can, like, I've seen him problem solve after he's taken something. And I don't know I'm not judging that if that's how you are dealing with whatever. But if you're just doing it to be high, just like with the alcohol or whatever, then that's where we have to look back. If you're only drinking to be drunk, or if you're drinking even to cope. There have been times in my life in the past where I did drink to cope because I did not know. I didn't want to pray about it anymore. I didn't know what else to do. I didn't know who else to talk to. So, okay.
Right.
Just numb the pain. So I've been there. I get it. But that's not okay. So yeah, go ahead.
So here's the interesting thing. So I pulled up some stuff from Harvard, some Harvard Health. And there is something, so in our nervous systems, right? And the reason and how this works in our body is that there is something called the endocannabinoid system that we all have. And it regulates and controls many of our most critical bodily functions, right? Such as learning, memory, emotional processing, sleep, temperature control, pain control, inflammatory and immune responses, and eating. And they've just recently discovered it apparently, and they're talking about how we can stimulate these receptors by using cannabis, right? And so these sorts of receptors in our brains, they exist in our immune tissues. They're good for immune functioning. They're great for people with IBS, with intestinal inflammation, all those kinds of stuff. And they allow, and they're trying to develop drugs, like pharmaceutical drugs that interact with the endocannabinoid system. And all this kind of stuff. Like it doesn't surprise me that you have a friend that does better after having cannabis in kind of memory and processing, because it directly impacts the neurotransmitters in our brains that work on that. And so again, it's how often, what are you doing? Are you relying on it to get high? It's like any other drug. Like you talked about Norco or any of these opiate drugs. They serve a purpose. They serve a purpose. My mom is a long-term prescribed opioid user. She does everything in her power to not take them long-term, but she has such severe degenerative disc disorder and another genetic disorder with her back. She cannot stand upright. She's been walking with a cane for 10 years almost now. She literally cannot stand upright because of the consistent pain that she is in. And she's had nerve blocks, and she's done all of it. She's tried to do spinal decompression, all this stuff. And part of it is she has a genetic condition that causes her to have these issues. And so she is just in so much pain all the time that, and they have explored some of this. And she has other health issues that counteract some of this. So it doesn't really work for her. But it's hard. It's a difficult place to be. Pain management. We have a guy at church who was in a terrible motorcycle accident several years back, and he is in terrible, terrible back pain. And trying to figure out how to manage his pain levels and things like that. And so the research that they are doing into this endocannabinoid system is really, really important, and it's really good. And some of the advances that we have made in using CBD and cannabis have been so beneficial for helping to adjust all of that. And I get it. Look, like we said, we're Dare graduates. We are kids of the 80s. We know that Nancy Reagan said that marijuana was the gateway drug. And if you did marijuana, you were going to be hooked on angel dust, right?
Right.
Right.
And there are people who have that thought process. There's people who still believe that.
Well, and it's like anything else. I think it depends on how you approach it and what you're looking for in that. Are you... I will occasionally have a glass of wine with dinner, or I will have a margarita with Mexican food. And I don't have a problem with that. I'm not drinking it to get drunk. I'm not drinking it to get buzzed. I'm drinking it because it's festive and it's lovely. I'm not losing my faculties. I'm not making a fool of myself in public. And if people have a concern about that as something that I do as far as drinking, I try never to do anything that is going to give people the wrong impression of me or of the church or things like that. And so typically, it's a glass of wine with a steak dinner, because I find that the glass of wine elevates the steak. right?
It does actually. Mm-hmm.
And to be fair, most of the time I still would rather prefer to have a Coke because that's just I don't drink a ton, right? But at
Right.
the same time, I'm not going to sit. I don't think that getting out and getting drunk for the sake of getting drunk, I don't think that's a good Christian witness. And so if I'm going to apply that same logic to marijuana or cannabis or whatever you want to call it, what is its purpose? Is its purpose to impair yourself, to get high, to be like, oh man, this is great, and life doesn't, I don't have to think about life? That's not great. That's not the appropriate use. I don't think that honors God, and I don't think that has a place in the Christian's walk.
Right.
However, if you've got fibromyalgia, if you've got cancer, if you have stomach issues, if you have IBS, if you have processing disorder, if you have anxiety, if you have some of those things and you are using them in moderation as prescribed by a doctor or with the guidance of people who are trained in how to do this kind of holistic medicine, I don't see a problem with it. Yeah. But it's like anything else, you can abuse it.
And just like anything else, there are going to be believers who disagree with us. Yeah. There was a time where I don't think that even either one of us would have been so like open
I don't think
about
so.
this type of a conversation. Like I was
but
different
I also
about
didn't
drinking.
Understand it.
Right. And I did not understand it. And it wasn't until I started, and like I said, I'm not smoking. I'm sorry, the gardener is here and he's usually not here on Fridays. And he's right outside my window. So I totally apologize for the sound that's possibly coming through right now. He does not normally come on Fridays. Like, I don't even know why he's here today. But anyway.
The pitfalls of recording in our home studios.
Right. And I have soundproofed what I can. So my apologies. But I didn't see myself 10 years ago doing something like this or taking things that would be taboo or, you know what I'm saying? Because weed is a touchy subject all around, not just in, I'm sorry, what the?
People throwing bodies against the wall outside, just.
Yeah, I'm like, seriously, and I'm about to go ask Jose, like, can you go cut in the front of the house, please?
It's fine. We're good. We're good, right, guys?
I wouldn't have been so cavalier. And when I first started, I didn't really tell a lot of people because I'm Joy, I'm a Christian, I'm a pastor, I'm a minister, I'm a this. I have to be, to me, transparency and honesty is most important. I don't want you to find out one day and like, oh, she says that she tells everybody. Not that everybody needs to know my business. I share what I believe God is telling me to share.
Right.
And I'm open about the things that I feel we need to. And I felt like this topic was important because, again, it is so taboo, not just in the church, but it's taboo in a lot of arenas and areas and political parties and all these things. And so it is important to do your own research and to get information before, even if you're not going to do it, but before even judging people about it. Now, having a church that opens a dispensary, I mean, financially, that would help a lot, I'm sure, because they would be raking in money. But I am not an advocate for that. And I have some friends who thought it would be cool or funny that they would do that. I get what he was trying to do and what he was trying to say. But I don't think that is the healthiest way to go about this situation, in my opinion.
Would the church open a bar? Is the church going to own a liquor store? Like,
right.
And if the answer is no, then you probably shouldn't open a dispensary. Just saying.
Yeah, and that's the only thing I've seen in ministry in regards to this topic that I found to be like, no. But I'm even learning, a lot of people do melatonin to sleep.
Yeah.
So there's a thing called CBN, which is the actual natural form of melatonin. And it's
not the Christian Broadcasting Network. It's a different CBN.
Yes, it's a different CBN. And so at the store, there's it has no THC. It's CBD
Right.
and CBN only. And what that does is helps you sleep. And it's more natural, they were explaining to me, than taking melatonin. It's where melatonin comes from.
Right.
So you're literally taking melatonin in its most natural state. So all these things that we already do, to me, taking aspirin is the equivalent of taking a half of gummy for me for my pain.
Yeah.
Aspirin does nothing for me. Tylenol does nothing for me. I take actual migraine medication, and sometimes there was a day last week where just I took two. I've never taken 2 migraine pills in a day. I had to take 2 migraine pills, and my head was still pounding from here all the way to the back of my neck, where I could not barely lift my head. I could not be on a Zoom meeting on camera because the light was bothering me.
Yeah.
I went to work this past Monday with a blazing migraine. I mean, blazing. I had a Trenta of coffee from Starbucks, just trying to counteract and get something to work. And if that can happen with my migraines, imagine the pain. And the addiction to prescription drugs is less safe than taking
Absolutely.
CBD,
Because
even with a little THC in it.
right. Because here's the thing about opioid. Right. Here's the thing about opioids is that continued long-term opioid use actually damages the neurotransmitters of your brain, or does something to, I don't know if it's damage, but it does something to them to where they perceive pain at a higher rate, which causes you to need more opioids, which is hard to say. And so now that we understand opioids better, we're understanding that actually it does a lot of harm. And that's the thing, like medical science changes as we do research and as we grow. And to be fair, the stuff that your mom was smoking in the 70s is not the same stuff that we have today in the medicinal use of it. They're very different. And also, to be fair, people breed marijuana plants that are high THC, which is what gets you high. And then there's stuff that's low THC, right? For medicinal purposes, because we understand that. There is a difference. The stuff you're going to get from the dude on the corner is not medicinal level THC. That stuff is designed to get you high. The stuff that you're getting from the dispensary.
To a reputable dispensary, because there's dispensaries all over, especially in LA.
And there's some sketch places too.
And there were some very sketch places. A friend of mine, she lives out in the Palmdale area, and she was going through some stuff. I told her, see if they had somewhere out there. She had to come to LA because the place that she went to where she lives was kind of sketch, and they only had stuff for recreational. They did not have anything for medical. That's why you need to do your research and know what you're getting. And as far as organs, even once I learned Motrin can start to damage your kidneys.
Oh, yeah.
I stopped taking Motrin. My doctor told me to stop. There was only one time. This week is the only time he told me to take some Motrin because of what I was dealing with my sinuses. Because y'all, did you know that a sinus infection can cause a toothache? That is so insane.
Yes.
That you want to shoot somebody. I promise you, it was so. It was waking. The tooth pain itself was waking me up in the middle of the night. I was waking up every hour and a half to 2 hours for 2 days straight because the whole entire side of my face was in chronic, just crazy pain.
And when your head hurts like that, and when your tooth hurt like that, your teeth hurt, oh my gosh, there is no pain like that. It is, you cannot focus, you cannot think of anything else.
To take a gummy for that, my mom was like, pain is pain, Joy, just take a half. And I was like, oh, and I took it. It felt no pain in my face.
Because it's disrupting the pain receptors, right? It's doing what other medications do, Tylenol, Advil, but especially when you're in chronic pain and you've taken those for a long time, your body becomes desensitized to it. I can take 4 ibuprofen and it don't do much to me. It'll take the edge off, but it's not going to do a ton.
And I do know it'll help with inflammation. Suffer kidney disease because of too much Motrin and not the correct dosage of blood pressure medication, and those two together start to damage your kidneys.
Exactly.
So if you are dealing with hypertension, diabetes, things like that, the regular medication you take, you still have to look at what has it that will counteract or affect your body, your issues. People with hypertension, I do not suggest you take Motrin. I don't suggest a lot of people take Motrin anymore because of, or ibuprofen, because of what it can do to your body, but especially if you suffer from hypertension, because those agents together have an issue. And I promise you, I never thought I would be an advocate for any type of cannabis, but I promise you, I've seen it work. And if I thought it was wrong, I wouldn't be sharing it. And if God convicted me and told me to stop, I would. But I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm doing what's best for my body so that I can continue to do the will of the Lord.
Right.
And continue to walk in purpose. And I know that's probably super weird to say in one sentence or to hear that, but it's the reality. It's the truth. So people who blast it, I feel like you should learn a little more about it, whether you're a pastor or even if your pastor blasts it. I mean, I've heard so many sermons on Instagram and Facebook with pastors talking about you think you need weed, but you only need Jesus. Yes, I absolutely need Jesus morning, noon, and night.
Well, and I think if we were going to play devil's advocate a little bit, I think when pastors think about weed, I think they're probably thinking recreational.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say, yeah, I mean, I agree with that. Like, we don't need weed. We don't need that. We need Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a simplistic way of saying it, but whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah. I think there is a definite distinction between recreational use, and medicinal use. And if it's legal and we're going to talk about it, and I don't know how formed this theology is, and I don't know that I will have the same opinion next week if I think about it longer, but it is not something I would ever choose to do. But it's in the same wheelhouse as alcohol to me. So I really don't know.
Together, but I agree with that.
I don't, again, ask me next week. And that may have changed. I don't know. I think that the difference between alcohol and marijuana is that, as my understanding of it goes, there is no level on either of them. You are impaired immediately, right? Mm-hmm. But there are levels of impairment, right? You can have depending on how large and how intense the glass of wine is.
Right. I mean,
you
if
can have a glass
of bottle of De La Rosa, then
no, you're gonna get messed up. Don't do that. First off, a whole bottle of De La Rosa. Yikes!
That's a lot. That's a lot of figures.
That is headache city. I can only imagine. Because, anyways, well, okay. So here's a fun fact: John and I, when we went to Hilton Head last weekend or 2 weekends ago for his birthday, there's a distillery down there, the Hilton Head Distillery, and we love cooking and foodie stuff. And so we took this distillery tour because they show you this is what we do, and here's all the things, and it's this. They tell you the history of how rum is made and all that kind of stuff. And it was interesting. Like, John's a history major. I like cooking. It was a fun combination. And it was inside in the air conditioning during August in South Carolina. So we get to learn and see all that kind of stuff. But it was like they were telling about what happens, like if you drink this level, this is why you have headaches and all this kind of stuff, because there's science about it. So it was fascinating. I thought it was interesting.
That's really good. It's like I said, I years ago I wouldn't have been having this conversation, and I would have been on the wrong. But like we said, in everything, do moderation. And I would, again, do your research and talk to your doctors before you do it for something. Now, if you are somebody who has had issues with cannabis or alcohol in the past, don't do it.
That's not for you.
Growing up, we, communion, we had real wine. My whole life. It wasn't until the pastor I have now became our pastor. After a few years of him being pastor, the Holy Spirit or something flipped in him, and he was like, we have recovering alcoholics in our ministry. So after that, we've had an option: grape juice or wine. Now, I joke because as a kid, we were drinking the wine, and I messed Manischewitz. like Jewish kosher wine, that stuff, it was only like this much, but when you're like 10, it burns the mess out of your chest.
It is not a smooth wine experience.
Not at all. But so what he decided to do, and we still do to this day, for people who are struggling with alcohol and people who, are having an issue, please take the grape juice. Deacon such and such is holding the grape juice. Deacon such and such is, or minister such and such is holding the wine. And we've been doing that for the past 15 plus years because something, gave him this revelation. Like, we need to be sensitive and not be a gateway to trigger someone who is struggling. So if you've struggled with weed in the past, recreational or Lee or whatever, I'm not telling you to jump back into it by using patches or whatever, because that can be a trigger for you. And then that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is be open-minded believers in this day and age, and understand that just because it was something you knew in the past that people were doing just recreationally, or that you even used to do recreationally in the past, there have been so many medical advances to this. I don't only have fibromyalgia, but I also have, the migraines. Like I said, I have a knee injury, but I also have IBS, and that helps my stomach sometimes because with fibromyalgia and IBS, nausea and fatigue are like high on the list of symptoms. And there are days I'll joke, I'm like, I don't even know what my nausea's from today. I don't know if it's from fibromyalgia. I don't know if it's because
spin the wheel.
I don't know if it's because I took my injection yesterday, and sometimes my injection makes me nauseous.
Yeah, that'll do it.
I don't know. I don't know. Because people, like my mom will say, oh, why do you think you're nauseous, girl? I don't know. It could be,
choose your poison
and pick one. Anyone. And I don't feel shame about it. I used to when I first started. And I'm like, but why do I feel ashamed? It's helping me be able to function.
Right.
Because I'm not always functionable. And so when you're in so much pain that your bed hurts, and that's like, I mean, I know that's not a joke. Like, there are days that I cannot, sleeping is uncomfortable, so I can't sleep because my bed hurts because I'm in so much pain.
Yeah.
And so,
well, and particularly with like fibromyalgia, there's still, they don't know a ton about it. It's why it's just this widespread mesh pain, inflammation thing that our bodies go haywire and do, and I'm going to say this for Christians. There is that passage that Paul talks about, if this is something that you struggle with or that you have a problem with, and you don't want to do it, don't do it. If this is a matter of personal, like, if you think that this is a sin and you do it, then it's a sin, right? God says, no, don't do it. And if you know that somebody around you, that's going to be a huge stumbling block for them and a huge thing that you like try to get them to do, then don't. Yeah. I think this is in that same wheelhouse. And as a personal thing, as far as recreational marijuana, I don't like it for a lot of reasons. I think I think that the high levels of THC, we don't yet know what it does to brain chemistry because it is so powerful in a medicinal purpose. To me, that's like, oh, well, I'm just going to take this, I'm going to take opioids, or I'm going to take this drug in a dosage that's super high. And because it, I don't like that. I don't think it's appropriate. I don't think it's safe. I don't think it's wise.
Right.
But medicinal CBD can't, I got no problem with that at all. Yeah. Because I've seen what it's done for you. I've seen what it's done for friends of mine. And, again, that's just where I land on it. And if we disagree, that's fine. Because like I said, ask me in a week from now what my thinking about this is different. I don't know that it's going to change about the CBD that doesn't have the THC in it, because that doesn't seem, and you're not getting high at that point. It's like hemp, it's like hemp seed almost, but like when it comes to like recreational use, I just don't see it as being beneficial, particularly for the Christian. Like it's just not. And frankly, I don't see alcohol as being beneficial for the Christian either, necessarily.
It's not like it helps with headaches or anything.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
Awesome.
Now, Paul says, because their understanding of it was that wine would help with Timothy's stomach discomfort. And, there are some studies that suggest that a glass of wine a day, red wine, is going to help with your heart.
Wine,
I don't know. They come out with a study that says something different every 2 seconds.
Dark chocolate to help with your heart, or dark chocolate's healthy for you, or whatever.
High in antioxidants. So dark chocolate is health food. You heard it here.
That's true.
I
like it's not a subject that I think all believers are going to agree on, and I
that's
understand
okay.
that.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I just want us to have an open conversation and perspective on it. And if you disagree and you feel like some kind of way, let us know. Like, we're not going to be like, well, you're wrong and I'm gonna still take it. Like, no, if you want to have something to say about it, please let us know. We're not going to be angry. We're not going to bite your head off or anything. I'm just sharing from my perspective and from Jessica knowing not only me, but others who have benefited from it and done her own research. Let me tell you, Jessica's not going to advocate for nothing that she hasn't looked into herself. I'm going to just tell you that at all.
Yeah, because again, I take really seriously the fact that I'm a pastor and my word carries weight. Joy is the same way. Like, we understand that there are people that we have a responsibility, and like, so that's why I'm gonna say that's why I'm not gonna go out and encourage you to be like, go out and smoke weed. Definitely not. Definitely don't do that.
Not what we're saying.
Not what we're saying at all. Please do not do that. Please do not hear us saying that. I would definitely not say that. And I would not say go out and drink either, just to be clear. Like, don't go out and drink. Don't go out, get drunk. Don't do it. That being said, if you've got pain management issues, opioids aren't necessarily healthy. They're not healthy, actually. It's why a lot of people are working to get off of them, and why it's harder and harder to get a prescription.
It's hard to get off of them. It's harder to get off of that than to stop taking CBD.
Yeah. So
easily.
The Lord gives us things, and we do a real good job of pardon the expression, bastardizing them. And I think this is an instance where we've done a good job of that. And, but if you disagree, let us know. Let us know. And you can let us know in the comments. You can let us know at joyandjess.com. You can leave us a voice memo there. You can send us an Instagram message at We Digress with Joy_Jess. Hit us in the comments on YouTube. There's a poll on Spotify now. They've rolled out that new feature. That's fun. All kinds of ways for you to connect with us, and we hope that you do. Did I miss any? You can send us an email.
Send us an email.
Podcast at joyandjess.com.
And you're in the Southern California area and you want to come and fellowship with other women and be revitalized in the spirit through the Word of God and some amazing speakers, join us at our Crafted Women's Conference, a women's gathering on September 23rd in Bellflower at Encounter Church. There'll be information in the description below. And we'd love for you to join us. Registration is online. Just check us out, and we'd love to fellowship with you and share with you and meet you.
For sure. I think when this episode is going to drop, it will be the next week after this episode drops. So it's coming up soon as you hear this. We hope we see you there.
See you there.
Have a good one, guys. Thanks for hanging with us today. Bye. Thanks for listening. Check us out on the web at joyandjess.com. That's JOIANDJESS.com. We'll see you next week.